This is a really sad story. We do remember the movie The Blind Side,
Oh yeah.
the life and times of Michael Orr, who number one draft pick Baltimore Ravens, had a pretty good 9-year career before it was ended by concussions and the fact that he came from a terribly broken home and was adopted by a family in Memphis and became a star at Mississippi and wound up being a number one draft pick. He has filed a lawsuit against the family that raised him when they took him in at age 18 rather than let him live on the streets, and he became a football star. He's filed a lawsuit against the Tuohy family. If you've never seen the movie Blind Side, you should see it because most of it is fairly true. But Michael Orr has filed a lawsuit, has charged that the family, when he was 18 years of age, asked him to sign papers for a conservatorship, not an adoption. He had no real family, and there was talk they would adopt him and then raise him as guardians. Instead, he was recommended by a lawyer to sign the conservatorship. In essence, he turned over his potential marketing rights to the Tuohy family. This is what they allege in the lawsuit. And then he finds out that the lawyer who, quote, was representing him was close friends to the Tuohy family.
Oh, geez.
So there was some type of conflict there. On top of that, they say by virtue of the way this thing was worded, he was an 18-year-old kid that didn't really know what he was signing. He just took the advice of, quote, that woman lawyer. Now they find out that the family has gotten $300 million in royalties off the book and off the movie The Blind Side.
Whoa.
And he's gotten nothing.
No way.
Not one penny. So they have filed the papers today in Memphis. It's going to be a messy lawsuit. His relationship with that family that took him in for a year and a half seems to have just evaporated. It's pretty nasty. He made a lot of money in the NFL, and he was a really fine player till he got hurt. But now so we're going to have to wait and see where this thing goes. Second story. Boy, am I tired of this. Tired of James Harden. Tired of Kyrie Irving. Tired of the whole atmosphere of the NBA where the players are dictating anything and everything to general managers, to teams, and even to the commissioner, Adam Silver. Now James Harden goes public in Philadelphia and tells the 76ers, I am not coming to camp. I will never wear your uniform again. And he called the general manager a liar, Daryl Morey. Morey was a general manager when James Harden was in Houston, and they had a good relationship. And then Morey took over the 76ers. And the genesis of all this is Harden met with the Sixers at the end of the season and said, I want to be traded. I'll do this. I'll pick up the final year of my contract at $36 million. I'll opt in for the final year to help you make a trade to get me somewhere else. That somewhere else was the LA Clippers. And then he finds out that Morey, the general manager, is asking for 4-for-1 or 5-for-1 from the Clippers. That's why the deal's not gotten done. And then Morey says, I am not trading the player. And now he says, you lied to me because you said if I opted into the low budget contract, you'd make this deal. So this is really nasty. And he demeaned Daryl Morey. And he says, I'm not coming to camp. So this is really an ugly, ugly story. And the last one this is troubling. We don't know everything in Tampa yet. Wander Franco, their star young shortstop, 300 hitter, 22 home runs, has been removed from the roster. Major League Baseball is doing an investigation about social media comments. We don't know whether it was from him or whether it came from somebody else in a family about an alleged relationship with a minor.
Oh,
this is pretty nasty stuff. And it brought to mind a couple of years ago, the Pittsburgh Pirates had a really great closer from the Caribbean, came out of nowhere, and he wound up getting arrested for having sex with a girl that was 14 and 15, and he is in prison. He's like 20 to 30 years in prison. So I don't know what is fact, what is fiction. But, Tampa started the season 20-3, and they played sub 500 since then. They've had 7 pitchers. Virtually all their pitchers have been on the injured list, all types of forearm, shoulder, elbow problems. Tampa right now does not look like it's a team that's going to be ready for postseason. And if they connect the dots on the story and some of the stuff is true, he might not play the rest of the year. It'd be a terrible, terrible blow. But, people make bad decisions and people are uneducated. And I don't know how you get yourself into this type of thing because you had to be aware of what happened to the Pirates reliever and what's happened to other guys along the way. Terrible story.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, and it's such a failure of personal morality. And I'm going to go back to the Michael Oher story, because it's amazing that he gets nothing from the book and the movie Blind Side.
Did not know.
I mean, the whole thing was based on his life.
Exactly.
If anybody's entitled to it, but so here you see that, was it the Tuohy Family? Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing the movie. That was like, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago.
It was a great movie.
Oh, it was amazing.
Great story, uplifting.
And, they kind of, made it seem like the family was rescuing this kid out of a tough situation, poverty, bad family life. But the kid ended up getting screwed over. And it's just so frustrating. And gosh, I mean, every podcast, Lee, we talk about some of the things that are going on between the lines, but so much is going on outside the lines that, I mean, it's incredible what some of these athletes are, the messes they're getting into. In some cases, self-inflicted, like Wander Franco. In other cases, they're just victims of bad people.
Well, we don't know the depths of what happened. We're not, just because they're alleging it does not mean it actually happened that way. But this is going to lawsuit, and it's a terribly sad story. And he was offended right in the beginning when the movie came out, because he was portrayed in the movie, and I interviewed the actor that played Michael Oher in the movie. He was portrayed in the movie as being uneducated and stupid. And he says, that's not me. Yes, he went to 11 different schools because he kept getting moved from foster home to foster home, and he had no father, and his mother had a drug addiction, had 11 kids, and they were scattered everywhere. But at the end of the day, he's indicated that I was asked to sign this document. I was an 18-year-old. I had no knowledge. I trusted the lawyer. I found out who the lawyer was later. And I find out the wealth that was generated by the book that the Tuohys are the ones that created, and then by the movie that they were part of. He says, I'm not getting any of that access. And the bottom line in the lawyer's statement was, there would be no Blind Side were it not for Michael Oher.
Yeah.
So I'll be intrigued to see when this goes to trial, if this goes to trial. Hey, we get to